Let the bass kick.
Think about it. 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 Think about it.
Let the bass kick.
Think about it. 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 Think about it.
All right, good morning and welcome to the November 29, Tuesday Board of County Commissioners meeting. Our first order of business is to call this meeting to order. We do have 4 commissioners present, and that is a sufficient quorum. Our 5th commissioner is on her way in and should be here momentarily. So let's go ahead and start with the first order of business, which is our invocation. Our invocation this morning will be given by Pastor Josh Spence from the Boulder Street Church. Thank you very much for being here. Please, everybody, stand and pray in your own way.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you this morning with thankfulness in our hearts. We ask for a spirit of wisdom and revelation over this place, over this city, and over this county. God, we ask that your spirit would rest in this room, over this team, over these leaders. Lord, that your discernment, your understanding, and your grace would rest in this place. Father, we ask that your name would be made great in El Paso County and Colorado Springs, in the state of Colorado, and that you would give understanding and knowledge, that the leaders in this place would lead with discernment and joy and peace, grace, longevity. Father, we ask that you would have your way in this place, that your name would be made great, and that you would find joy in this place. So today, God, I ask for grace and peace over these proceedings. Would your word be made known? And would there be peace in the midst of tribulation? Would there be joy in the midst of sadness? We ask all this in the powerful name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you. And if we could have our district attorney lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate very much the prayer. Let's move on to item number 3.
Item number 3 is staff emergency items. I'm unaware of any staff emergency items today.
Very good. Item number 4.
Item number 4 is consent to appoint deputy district attorneys. 4A, appointment of Riley Franick, Michael Young, Danielle Brown, Richard Hansen, and Emily Parker. Michael Allen, district attorney.
Morning, Commissioners. How are you doing this cold Tuesday morning?
Good morning.
You might notice that I'm wearing a scarf. This is a scarf for the American Outlaws, supporting the U.S. men's national team as they go up against Iran later today. Hopefully they can bring home some glory and move on in the World Cup. A bit of trivia that I learned about the World Cup is that for American football to have the same viewership numbers, they would have to have 30 Super Bowls in a row to match what's happened already in the World Cup as far as viewership. So pretty impressive. So with that said, I would like to introduce these next 5 of the historic 15 new attorneys that we brought into the office that all passed the bar exam. The first is Riley Franick. Riley graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and a Bachelor of Science in Social Work from Fort Hays State University in Kansas. She later went on to receive her JD from Washburn University School of Law in Kansas, which I would note is in very close proximity to the University of Kansas and the Jayhawks, right? Michael Young graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy from the University of New Orleans and later went on to receive his JD from the University of Colorado Law in Boulder. He is from Boulder, Colorado, and his interests include bouldering and reading classics. He interned in multiple DA's offices in the state, including our office, prior to accepting an offer to join us as a deputy district attorney. Danielle Brown graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Law and Society. She then received her JD from Indiana University Maurer School of Law in Indiana. Danielle has received multiple honors and awards, including the Women's Swimming and Diving Core Value Award and Big Ten Sportsmanship Award. Richard Hansen moved to Colorado Springs from Texas. We've got a lot of people moving to Colorado from Texas, and we welcome all of them. He received a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy from the University of Colorado Boulder. He later received his JD from St. Mary's University School of Law in Texas. Richard has experience working in law and worked as a judge's clerk in Centennial, Colorado. And then Emily Parker also joins us from Texas. She got her JD from St. Mary's University School of Law. And I would note that both Richard and Emily share the same law school graduation as our Chief Deputy DA, Andy Vaughn, who's sitting up in the stands there. He thinks he's got a pipeline to St. Mary's graduates now, and we're happy to bring those people on board. Emily got her undergraduate degree from the University of Texas at Austin and received a Bachelor of Arts with a major in government and a minor in history. She's also has experience working for other DA's offices, including, I can't even say the county. How do we say that county? Nueces and Bexar County District Attorney's Office in Texas. Apparently in Texas, you spell Bear, B-E-X-A-R. I don't know what that means. With all that, Commissioners, I would ask for approval of these fine individuals to the deputy as deputy district attorneys, joining our effort to find justice for victims and this community in the DA's office.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for the nice introduction. Would any of you like to come up and say a few words? And some of you might want to go ahead and say something about football, because someone might ask you something about football.
Apparently they're all shy this morning.
They are. Okay, Commissioner.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to congratulate everybody. Great resumes. I was actually born in Texas, and my last assignment was in San Antonio, so I get to enjoy a lot. There's a lot of good Texans out there, including my relatives. And yeah, I was laughing when you said Bear. So, oh, Bexar. Yeah. Thanks, and welcome aboard.
Great. Any other comments from any of the other commissioners? Yeah, Commissioner Geithner.
I just want to say welcome. I have the utmost confidence that DA Allen has selected wonderful new staff members to protect our residents and make sure that we continue in what I think has been a tradition of strong public safety here in El Paso County. Everyone likes to talk about football. I'm not really a huge football fan myself. So last time I decided to mix it up and ask if you had a favorite TV show or movie related to law specifically.
And
Emily?
Detectives.
It's great. It's great.
And that's Emily, by the way.
now, you might need to come up to the microphone so it can be on the record. No.
Psych is the best detective TV show known to man, so big fan.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good show.
Good morning. I'm Danielle Brown. I would say Law and Order SVU. That's a classic.
And we do have an SVU unit in the office, so maybe she'll be working those cases at some point.
Great.
It's Michael, by the way. I would just say I love the movie A Few Good Men, and you can't handle the truth.
Gee, I know what that comes from. that apparently went over well.
I think it's time to vote.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll make a few comments. And Commissioner Williams, good morning. For the record, we do have all 5 commissioners present on the dais at this point. So I just want to express my appreciation for your signing up to work here in El Paso County. It is a great place to live. We take our work very seriously. We have a very, very important job regarding public safety. And I think I see from your resumes, you all are very learned people already, but I know that you'll learn more here. I like to point out a few things that I see in these, not necessarily to any specific name. Oh, okay. But I see honor society, law clerking, legal internships. I see practice in a lot of different regions and locations, including different places in Colorado. I really like all of that. I know you'll bring some of that experience here. But I do have to tell you, there's got some problems over here, but I do have to say that my favorite is Danielle has a degree from Purdue University. Yeah, and my fellow commissioners are going to groan now, but it's all good. I'm also a graduate of Purdue University. I went there for engineering. You went there for law. Great grade at Purdue. And oh, by the way, now that I'm going to make the football comment, oh my gosh, finally we have a winning season in Purdue football, finally. So we'll be this weekend competing against, I think it's Michigan, in the Big Ten championship. That's going to be a really tough game for Purdue, but I suppose anything can happen. So let's hope. But anyway, great resumes. Thank you for coming here and working with us. And we know that all of you are going to do a great job for the 4th Judicial District and for the district attorney. So thank you very much. With that in mind, I'll just ask if Commissioner Williams, if you have any comments, and if not, I'll ask for a motion.
No, I thank you. It's wonderful to have you on with the best district attorney's office in the state. So thank you. And I would move approval of our the appointment of our 5 district attorneys.
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. Let's go ahead and proceed with a vote. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Like I said, with the last new employees in the district's attorney's office, it was a squeaker. It was really close, but you did make it 5-0. So congratulations again, and thank you for joining the team.
Thank you,
so
commissioners.
Much. All right, let us move on now to item number 5.
Item number 5 is changes, postponements, notice of the next meeting. I'm unaware of any changes or postponements to today's agenda, and the next meeting will be December 6th at 9 o'clock and again at 1 o'clock for the land use meeting.
Very good. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is a consent calendar consisting of item numbers 6A through 6V5.
Okay, very good. Are there any questions or comments from anybody in the audience, from any citizens regarding any items on the consent calendar? And seeing none, just to check, is there anybody online? Okay, very good. I'll bring this up to the dais. Are there any comments or questions from any of the commissioners regarding any of the items on the consent calendar? All right, seeing none there, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve item 6A through V5.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Let's proceed with the vote. Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The consent calendar passes 5-0. We are now on to item number 7.
Item number 7 is comments by elected officials and commissioner liaison reports.
All right, Commissioner Williams, would you, let's see, we don't have any elected officials at this point anymore in the audience. So bringing it up to the dais, Commissioner Williams.
Hi, good morning. It's wonderful to be back from the Thanksgiving holiday I spent in Las Vegas with family, and it's a little bit, we arrived back late last night, just a little bit of a time change and a weather change, so I apologize for being a few minutes late. I'm looking forward this week to attending the National Association of Counties in Will County, Illinois, which is also in the area of Chicago. It should be an interesting event, but most importantly, I get to see my other 2 members of my family, my son and his wife, which I did not see over Thanksgiving. Just looking forward to getting back to the business of the budget and budgets for several of the organizations I am a part of, the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, as well as the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority. And those were my only comments this morning. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Great comments. Commissioner Geithner.
Well, I just cannot seem to get my technology to cooperate this morning. I had notes on my my device here, but I've got one of those annoying pop-up things that turns on the volume even when your volume's turned off, so I apologize. And so I will go from memory here instead of reading my notes this morning, but a couple of things going on. Yesterday, had a regional building meeting that was moved due to the holiday, which is unusual for a Monday, but did have that where there was some interesting conversation. I know that we continue to have a lot of conversation around the economy, what's happening with that, and also affordable housing. Which is a very strange, it's been mentioned many times, it's a very strange phrase, affordable housing, because it doesn't really have a definition. Nonetheless, we know that housing is very expensive, and so that kind of conversation continued. There is a lot of focus on that for the next legislative session. That was one of the things that we talked about, is how we can do more in those sessions to make sure that regulations are not being passed down that are so burdensome that they are creating a lot of additional costs for housing as we are continuing to try and deal with those concerns. So that was a really good conversation at that meeting, and I know we had a little bit of that when we approved the budget recently, but those are really important things that are happening. I also, because we did not have a meeting last week, wanted to just take a moment on the record and acknowledge that the shooting that happened is obviously, I think almost all of us put out a statement. We put out one together, but also individually. That was a devastating event for our community. But now that some time has also passed, there are a few other things that have happened or have been said that I really think it's important that we address. And one of those things is that I believe deeply that we have got to stop equating disagreement with hate. I think that we have to be careful not to over-politicize things. The only people who win when we are divisive and hateful and angry at each other are people who are in pursuit of political power. I think that as we said the Pledge of Allegiance, the word indivisible stuck out to me this morning. And we have to be indivisible as a nation. We have to remember that there is more that is similar about us than that divides us, and resist those urges from political pressures and media pressures to pull us all apart. We are all human beings. We all have different opinions. Lots of us, I don't even agree with my husband 100% of the time. That certainly doesn't mean that that we can't still love each other, support each other, and resist what the media is attempting to do. So I know that this is a very difficult topic for so many people, but I just thought that it's really, really important that we not allow, and particularly a lot of speculation and things that are also going on in the media. Let's wait, let's watch for the facts. Let's take the time to really assess rather than just make political points at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Great comments. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'll start with my more admin stuff. Yes, I hope everybody had as best possible, enjoyed a nice Thanksgiving last week. Do have a workforce board meeting this Thursday morning. And then I appreciate the comments already stated from fellow commissioners. Yes, so, you know, as we said it in individual, I think, statements and as a joint statement, you know, for myself, you know, my prayers for all those, you know, lost lives and those injured in the club shooting last weekend. It was a truly sad day in Colorado Springs and for everybody. It hit everybody, of course. I do want to thank the two heroes, and there might have been more, who absolutely helped save lives that night. So I want to thank them as well. And just, you know, as a community, let's come together, El Paso County, Colorado Springs, and support each other. And as we enter the Christmas and holiday season, that I think really brings us, you know, even more so than normal to the forefront. We're reminded to cherish and to pray for each other, and to pray for peace and for end to violence around the world and locally. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Great comments as well. Commissioner Bremer.
Thank you. My colleagues have said it well, and as Commissioner Geithner said, this is a difficult thing to talk about and to bring up, and for that reason, I wrote out my comments as well, but I'm not sure they, some things do stand to be repeated. 10 days ago, our nation was rocked when a mass murder took place in my district. In the days since, I haven't spoken publicly about this tragedy, though I've been working with the county and many other entities as we work through the aftermath. My heart and prayers from the second I found out have been with the victim, their families, and I'm deeply grateful for the heroic work done by so many, including medical professionals, first responders, and those who stopped the tragedy from being so much worse. In the week since, I've asked the same questions that many others have asked while looking for answers. Could this be prevented? Were there warning signs? What drove someone to commit such a brutal and senseless act? As policymakers, it is important to ask the tough questions and seek real answers so that we protect our citizens whenever possible. It's not helpful to jump to quick conclusions or assign blame, as was unfortunately done in this incident by many in the media and in online forums. I received numerous communications from individuals who are not my constituents who also wish to score political points on the back of this tragedy. From what we know now, it appears that this senseless act was committed by a deeply disturbed young man. While I will ask tough but responsible questions of our sheriff's and DA's office about how this previous arrest was handled, I will not join in ascribing blame until and unless it is warranted. At this point, we simply don't know the answers, and I'm disappointed with the careless nature with which this tragedy was handled by the national media to date. Another area the media has let us down is by incorrectly jumping to the conclusion that this was a hate crime brought about by incivility in our community. Based on the most recent court filings, this narrative appears to be completely false and irresponsible. And that irresponsible reporting and false narrative led to disgusting criminal actions taken elsewhere in our community. I'm speaking of those taken against Focus on the Family, where just days before, I held my son's 8th birthday party. I also want to point out that killing another human in cold blood is wrong and evil. It does not matter if that person is gay, straight, Christian, Muslim, or atheist. It's wrong to kill another human. Murder is not caused by religious groups peacefully promoting their faith. It is not caused by political disagreements or people exercising their right to freely speak things that others disagree with. Murder is a choice made by a disturbed and dark human, and we must hold those who commit murder fully accountable for their actions. A few hours after this horrific crime, my church, which doesn't support the lifestyle of many of the customers at the Q nightclub, came together to pray for the victims and for healing for our community. Because good Christians and good people understand that they can disagree with a lifestyle or a belief and yet support those same people as valuable human lives. As my district and our community continue to work through this horrible tragedy, let us keep the victims and their family in our prayers. We must ask tough questions and search our policies to see if we as a government can better protect all of our citizens. This commissioner is committed to working through the process as our community seeks both justice and healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Comments exceptionally well stated. And I'll do some administrative comments first as well, and then I'll offer some comments regarding the shooting. So I just hope that everybody had a great Thanksgiving. It was a time for reflection and prayer for me. We were able to spend it with family, and it was special because my kids are grown and they're now living in different places, and it's wonderful to have them back and to be together again and to be thankful and express gratitude for all that we do have. Also, I'll be traveling with to the Chicago area with Commissioner Williams to the large urban caucus. I'll be departing tomorrow, and that will be for the remainder of the week. So I'll be out of town during that time. And I look forward to participating in that event and learning more about what the National Association of Counties does within their large urban caucus functions. Also today at 2 o'clock, the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments will be participating in a legislative conference called a Roundtable. That will be with the local delegation, the local state delegation, and we'll be having a conversation with them about getting a better understanding about what their legislative initiatives will be for this coming year. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about the Club Q shooting. I also express my deepest sympathies and prayers for those who were lost, for their families, and for all the victims that came from this, and also prayers for all of the anguish that has come as a result of it. And I am deeply appalled at the almost instant politicization of what transpired that took place by certain people that felt they needed to do that. That included political attacks, most likely. I haven't had a chance to speak to my fellow commissioners, but probably most likely to all of the commissioners here. Certainly to me, by a paper in Denver that was completely unfounded. At a time when we should be mourning and praying. Seriously, shame on them. That's just so, so wrong. And you know, I swore an oath to the Constitution. My fellow commissioners swore an oath to the Constitution. And that for me also includes the Declaration. And the Declaration says that governments are constituted amongst us to ensure that we protect the inalienable God-given rights that have been given to us. And amongst those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And this issue that took place in the shooting is about life and the pursuit of happiness. It doesn't make any difference what we believe or don't believe in. We all swore an oath to the Constitution to defend life and to defend an individual's right to pursue happiness in the way they see it. So that's what I stand on. That's what I swore an oath to. I did that for 28 years when I was in the Air Force. I was willing and still willing to give my life to defend those rights. And to attack us is just pure politicization for either points or to try and get a piece of legislation through or something like that. Just absolutely wrong. So I appreciate the comments of my fellow commissioners regarding this topic. I know that all of us are deeply, deeply saddened by the horrendous, horrible event that took place. I appreciate Commissioner Bremer's comments. It makes no difference who we are. Killing is wrong, just flat out wrong. And I am hopeful that our law enforcement agencies will be able to sufficiently pursue this and deliver justice on behalf of the victims and their families and the community. And I do believe that they will do that. So those are my comments for today, and thank you, everybody. Let us continue now to item number 8.
Item number 8 is community service organization reports. There are none.
Very good. Item number 9.
Item number 9 is public comment on items not scheduled on the agenda. This is the public's opportunity to comment on an item not scheduled on today's agenda. And Mr. Chair, we did have one individual sign in before the meeting started, and that would be Tom Martin, if we want to call him first.
Okay, very good. Please come on up. Good morning. And while you're coming up, I'll just see, is there anybody online? No one online. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the audience that will be coming down? All right, very good. Please feel free to make your way down and come down to the front. Yes, sir, please proceed.
Good morning, commissioners. I hope we had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did, and I hope you did the same. I'd like to tell you a little bit. It's very difficult for me to take the time and the perseverance and the effort to come and speak to you. I'm not a professional speaker. Let me tell you a little bit about what happened at the Thanksgiving dinner table this year. I'm I was telling my family that I'd been attending the El Paso County Commissioners meetings. And my youngest son reminded me, who I honor and give dignity to all my children. They've done very well for themselves. And my son reminded me, Dad, I need to remind you, you're the old fat trout. Old fat trout, he stays in the eddy of the water in the river. He lets the food come to him. He's learned to stay out of the rapids where all the young trout have to fight for all their insects and their food. And he just questioned why I'm spending the effort to come and be here and talk to you. And I question it also. And all I could really answer him is because someone has to talk to these folks, and I don't know if I can do any good. I have no idea, but somebody has to give them a different point of view. When I was in 3rd grade, we took a field trip to the state legislature. And I remember a state house representative, we went into his office or her office, I can't really remember. But I do remember they got out an issue that was at hand. And this state representative told me that it wasn't their job to have a predisposed position on any particular issue or topic. That literally in the mid-60s, that's when this was, they would look down at how many people were for this issue and how many were against it, and it didn't matter how much they felt that they were going to vote with the majority. I have a feeling we've come a long, long ways from that. Down to 23 seconds, so I need to wrap it up. When it comes to land decisions, whether it's rezoning, special use, there are no simple answers. These are complex problems. They don't deserve simple answers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, ma'am. And I don't believe you might have signed in before, so please sign in and then state your name and then you can proceed.
I am listed on the sheet right here. Is that
you
sufficient?
are? Oh, okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. If you're on that sheet, that's good.
All right, thank you. Well, hello, my name is Jacqueline Arbendares Unzueta. I'm a constituent of District 5, Commissioner Bremer. So I'm here today with a heavy heart. I am glad to know that the commissioners had some comments on the mass shooting that occurred in our community. In fact, that's what brought me here today, is I wanted to know what you had to say. That being said, I am troubled to hear you blame the media for reporting the facts. In addition to that, I'm troubled to hear you actually have some silence on what occurred, which is the fact that this is an attack that happened on my LGBTQIA+ community. So I can understand the commissioner's comments regarding not equating disagreement with hate. Certainly, I can even appreciate that. I can appreciate the power of being indivisible as well. However, what is missing here is the truth that there are inequities at play, and that comes with the fact that this was an attack on a marginalized community. So Commissioner Bremer said, were there warning signs? Could this been prevented? Certainly, everybody is asking themselves those questions. And we are depending on the media to report the facts. And the facts are that this Club Q shooter was in the authorities' sphere last year because they called a bomb threat against their own mother and forced the evacuation of an entire neighborhood. So I too am looking forward to the answers about that situation because as far as I understand it, our Fourth Judicial District Attorney's Office, who was here earlier today, they made certain decisions in that case that today a lot of people are experiencing grief over. As I understand it, the decision to not formally prosecute someone who then went on to murder my friend's boyfriend. That being said, the facts also reported are that our county commission, as early as 2019, chose to focus on what I would call the culture wars and make us a two-way sanctuary city, or county, excuse me. That is really painful in the rearview mirror, considering what we do know about the Club Q shooting. So I'm asking this county commission to do more than express your thoughts and prayers. I do hope that you are looking and seeking to consider what kind of action you might be able to take after an event like this, which 5 lives were stolen from us, 5 beloved community members, dozens injured, and this entire city, county affected and never going to be the same. Do you know what it is like to go somewhere that you thought you would feel safe and it'll never ever be safe again? I'm asking you to think about that. So please, please, end the focus on these culture wars and represent your community, because I have to say specifically, Commissioner Bremer, I looked at your Facebook page the day of the shooting because I really wanted to know what my commissioner had to say, and it hurt to see that there was nothing there. El Paso County Health, the day of, made sure to release plenty of information about the mental health resources that thankfully are available in our community. So I urge you to continue to try to work among your community, regardless of whether you disagree with those lifestyles, because we are human beings. And I'm glad we can agree on at least one thing, which killing is wrong. And so I'll repeat my sentiment that I am very much looking forward to, and I am not the only one, understanding what the hell happened with the 4th Judicial District and its lack of prosecution of the Club Q shooter last year. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate your coming to testify. Commissioner Geithner.
If I could, I appreciate you coming and expressing your heartfelt concerns. It is heartbreaking. It's always heartbreaking when we have losses, and I absolutely appreciate you coming and speaking. I do want to, because this is exactly what my comments had to do with. The media could not possibly have known what has happened in this case regarding prosecution or anything else, because the records have been sealed by the judge. And so I want to point out that if there are folks out there who are saying something specific about what happened, it cannot be fact, because that information is not available publicly. I also want to point out, because there have been some folks who have talked about this, in particular, another DA elsewhere in the state, I was very grateful, who came out and wrote a piece to help people try to understand what the facts actually are. And the reality is there are multiple potential scenarios in this case that could have happened. And we don't know, again, because they're sealed. To jump to any conclusion before those details are released, if they are to be released, is again, in my mind, irresponsible of the media for exactly the reason that we're seeing, is that if false information, which is what it is at this point, if there's any blame being pushed because we don't have that information, it creates in folks in our community an anger, which may or may not be justified, because again, we don't know what happened yet. So I just, again, would reiterate, there is no, if the media or some source that you are reading is telling you that something specific happened, in that case, they're not being completely transparent. They're not being completely honest because we do not have that information available publicly. So please refrain from, I know it is very human for us to want to understand why and point a finger and figure out what the problem was so that we can correct it. But at this point, that there is no fact about what happened in with the previous involvement. So please wait. Let's find out what actually happened so that we can take action and solve the problem if there is one that needs to be taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to highlight, I didn't want to comment on any, negatives, but the media has not been that helpful. I will acknowledge as well. Anybody who comes up here and anybody in the media who has stated the word sanctuary in their statements, and I saw that national news, did not read the resolution or proclamation this board passed. So keep that in mind. Anybody who uses that word did not actually read what we did. And that goes to the national media as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll just make a quick comment. First of all, we are all hurting, including this board, because this was a terrible event. And I appreciate the comments of my fellow commissioners. I appreciate actually also as well the testimony of the individual that just testified. I just want to share that upon being informed of what had happened, the very first thing I did was call one of my gay friends and make sure that he was okay. And then I asked him, could you call around to your friends and make sure they're okay? And he did do that for me. Because people are people. You know, we love each other. That's what we should be doing. So I did that. I wasn't planning on sharing that, but I thought perhaps the individual that just testified would want to hear that. I think Commissioner's points are well taken. That particular investigation was sealed. I have no idea what transpired in that investigation. It's impossible for me to comment on it, because I don't even know what happened. But even if I did know what happened, we have a Colorado statute that was proffered in the law that forced that to be sealed, that does not allow us to comment on it. I believe there's been a request made to release those records, and I don't know if that will happen or not. But I don't know what transpired in that either. And so there's a lot of information that still needs to come out about what happened. I do look forward, hopefully someday, to that being made public and we understand better what actually happened. All right, yes, Commissioner.
And I would just say, I do hope that becomes unsealed so that people can find out what happened, so that we can find out exactly for justice for all. So we can find out what happened,
Yeah.
and get justice for everybody and the victims. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Good
Yes,
morning,
sir.
Commissioners.
Good
Lawrence
morning.
Martinez. It was a tragic situation in which would happen that weekend. I myself had friends and friends of mine that had family there. We are a large city, but we're a small community. To Mark, I hope your brother and sister get well fast, brother. It is a situation in which there's a lot of misunderstanding of community members and choices that they make. I think it was great that we did come together as a community to make sure those who were hurt were taken care of. I hope we have more dialogue on the situation. This way, those who think they were favored understand that we do understand your lifestyle, your situation, and the fact that you have family as well as us. I myself am a constituent of Cami Bremer in the 5th District. I see a lot of situations that arise even just over typical car accidents. So I'm hoping this community can come together. We can realize that each one of us has the right to be here, to be taken care of and understood. So once again, thank you guys for your comments. I hope the community will start to get together and have this larger conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public that wish to make any comments on any items that are not on the agenda at this point? Commissioner Williams, please.
You know, I didn't make any comments on the Club Q shooting primarily because I was spending more time with my family over Thanksgiving that I had not seen in quite some time. So I just wanted to say I do know on the day of the shooting, we did go to the vigil at the Unitarian Church. It was hard. I felt very, very sad for the individuals there who had been personally affected. And it's not something that I am thankful that I have not had to experience any violence towards my family personally, but it has been very, very hard to witness in our community the sadness and the anger that has occurred out of it. So my heart does go out to those who lost members of their families and those who were at the club itself. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate your comments. All right, let us continue then. I think we are on item number 10.
Item number 10 is the called up consent calendar. There are no items called up.
Very well. Item number 11.
Item number 11 is the resolution to approve the Homestead Ranch Regional Park Master Plan. Todd Martz, Executive Director, Parks Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. Todd Martz, Executive Director for Community Services. We are going to briefly go through the PowerPoint of for the Homestead Ranch Regional Park Master Plan, and then if there's any detailed questions, we're happy to go through those. But we did want to present this to you and to the public, what we're moving forward with for the Homestead Ranch. I'm really excited. I think it's a positive step forward, and that community needs this, and the park needs some direction, and this will give it to us for the next 5 to 10 years. I'd like to turn it over to Greg Station, our landscape architect, who's with our planning division.
Thank you, Todd. And good morning, Commissioners. Greg Station, Landscape Architect, County Parks. So the master plan has been posted online for a couple months now. It is about 70 pages long. So I've created a condensed version just to provide an overview of the master plan. And I won't go into too much detail, but like Todd said, if there are questions, I can ask more detailed questions. So master plans for the county are, we like to have one for each park to guide decisions into the future. They last anywhere from 5 to 10 years. And this plan, the purpose of it is to record baseline information, perform site analysis, trails analysis, really kind of look at some of the condition of some of our facilities at the park and recommend improvements for the future. It doesn't mean all the improvements will happen next year or that they will happen at all. It just, as funding is provided, we start to do projects. So here's Homestead Ranch. It's in the northeast part of the county. Just north of Peyton. And the park actually consists of a few different parcels. These isolated parcels were acquired by the county in 1974 via a land dedication in lieu of paying park fees. The county acquired the main parcel in the late 80s from John and Gladys Person, a longtime ranching family in the area that was ready to sell at the time. And the park really went into active development in the early 2000s. So the park has been developed since about 2003, 04, 05 is when it really got developed. There is an existing network of trails. There's an active use area. There's a pond. We have a restroom and a maintenance shop. So the park really has a little bit of everything. The existing trails are okay. It's a nice network, but they don't have trail surfacing. They never were surfaced, just in a few places. We have some existing erosion. This has been fixed since, but it's kind of a continuing problem. We need to do a little ditching work. Here's an example of the existing playground, which is a great playground, but it's about 15 or 20 years old, which is getting towards the end of its lifespan. We have, our maintenance department has been replacing certain parts of it, but we would like to plan for its long-term replacement as part of the master plan. Here's the pond and the active use field. Some of the existing trails, and one unique thing about this park is the a watering trough up at the top of the hill for equestrian users. This park receives heavy equestrian use, along with people hiking and taking their dogs on leash. Some existing trails. Really the public engagement for this project happened earlier this year in June and July. There was a guided hike. There was various publicity, and we received public comments on the master plan that I incorporated. Really, our recommendations in the active use area include ADA compliance, fixing erosion near the building. We'd like to improve the parking lot and the drive, topping it off with gravel, adding paving eventually to part of the parking lot. It has existing curb and gutter. We want to do some trail improvements. And then we just need some fencing and some wayfinding and signage. Fencing, especially on the south end of the property, is not in the best condition. Here's a kind of a map showing some of the improvements. Here's the trails. And this is a summary of, so the improvements are broken into two phases, phase 1 and future phases. This forestry is actually taking place right now. About 30 acres have been mitigated, basically thinning out, chipping, and to reduce the ladder fuels in the forest. And these are future improvements which would not all happen at once, but they're needs identified to bring the park up to par over time and plan for eventual replacement of existing facilities. Are there any questions or discussion items on the Homestead Ranch Master Plan?
Any questions regarding the master plan from any of the commissioners? Okay, I don't think we've got any at this point. Good job.
Thank you. I don't know if there's any public comments. We did a great job of getting those early on, which I think is a great way to do it. And we are looking for I think we have a resolution included, and hopefully we can get approval and we can start getting some of the work done at Homestead for our next kite festival. Not at Homestead though.
Thank you very much. And that resolution is a resolution to approve the Homestead Ranch Regional Park Master Plan. That's what the resolution is for. I guess I'll just, because you mentioned it, Todd, I'll just ask, is there anybody in the public that wishes to comment at this point before we proceed? If you want to make some comments on the master plan, now's the time. And is there anybody online? No. Okay. I don't think we have anybody here wishing to provide public comment. So I will bring it up to the dais. And again, one last opportunity for any of the commissioners if you have any questions or comments. All right. At that point, then I'll entertain a motion.
I will move approval of the resolution a resolution to approve the Homestead Ranch Regional Park Master Plan.
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. And since I did not see any further questions or comments, let's go ahead and proceed with the vote. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Congratulations, team. And that was good work. Seriously, good work on that master plan. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you.
All right. Let us move to item 12.
Item number 12 is discussion and vote on a resolution on whether or not to decline participation by El Paso County and its supported entities in the Colorado Paid Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program. Nathan Whitney, First Assistant County Attorney.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nathan Whitney, First Assistant County Attorney. Today, I'd like to give you a brief overview of what I'll call family. It's a new law that provides paid medical leave insurance to employees in Colorado. the law does allow public entities to opt out of participation in this program. If public entities elect to opt out of participation, it's important to note that individual employees can still make their own decision on whether to opt in. So I'll go through this presentation. I will answer any questions you may have at the end. I think we'll need to provide an opportunity for any of our employees who may be here today to provide comment to the board. And then I'll turn the floor over to the commissioners to vote on whether or not to opt out. And if we opt out, the two options are we opt out entirely of participation in the program, or we opt out but act as withholding agents. So in other words, we withhold our participating employees' premiums for submission to the state. So there are two opt-out versions. So what is family? As I alluded to, it creates paid leave for qualifying medical reasons for employees in Colorado. Leave is paid for through premiums that are paid into a new fund administered by a state agency that will operate similar to unemployment insurance. In other words, premiums are contributed through each paycheck, both by the employee and the employer. Benefits will begin January 1, 2024. So employees will be able to take leave in a year and a month, but premium collection by the state begins on January 1 of 2023. So who can take FMLA leave, or family leave, I should say? Covered employees, those are employees that have earned at least $2,500 in a base period. I believe the Act defines the base period as 4 out of the last 5 quarters, and leave can be taken for birth, adoption, placement of a child through foster care, an employee's own serious health condition, to care for a family member with a serious health condition, qualifying exigencies like military leave, and safety due to domestic violence issues. The compensation under this act for employees, it's not full compensation, it is partial compensation. There's a formula that the state will use to determine how much employees should be paid through this act when they make a claim to the fund, but the compensation will be capped initially at $1,100 per week. So how long can employees take leave under this new state act? They can take it for up to 12 weeks. There is a possibility of an additional 4 weeks for 16 weeks total if there is a need for leave related to a serious health condition related to pregnancy or complications through childbirth. Additionally, covered employees under this act can take leave intermittently. That means they don't have to take it in one big chunk, all 12 weeks, but they can break it up into smaller increments. So how are the premiums calculated when the state starts to collect? Beginning January 1, 2023, for participating employers and employees, payroll premiums will be collected and paid into the Treasury, that new fund. Initially, premiums will be 0.9% of an employee's gross wages. So that's a little bit less than 1%, and that will be divvied up where the employee pays 0.45% and the employer pays the other half, 0.45%. Premiums under the Act can rise. The Act says through 2025, the premiums can't rise any higher than a cumulative 1.2%, but there is no cap for premiums after 2025, so they could rise higher in the future. As far as the financial impact on the county, this is a spreadsheet Nikki Simmons, our CFO extraordinary, put together about the financial impact of participation will have on the county and the county's budget. And by the county, I should note, I'm talking about the county and all of its supported entities, the clerk and recorder, the treasurer, the DA's office, the sheriff's office, public health, et cetera. With the 0.45% premium, that's just the county and its supported entities contribution. That will impact the budget by over $874,000. If the premium goes up to that 0.6%, that's over $1 million. And cumulatively, you see the money down at the bottom, the total contribution for both the employee and the employer. On the low end, that's $1.7 million. On the high end, that's $2.3 million. I should note, I'm not a mathematician. I went to law school. There's a reason for that. But an employee who makes $45,000, $50,000, they're going to be impacted by contributing $450, $500, $600 a year into this program, whether or not they choose to take any benefits. It's important to note, I work with Renee Mabe and a great group of individuals in benefits and HR, and the county provides a very generous package of benefits to its employees. I should know, I was just out on paternity leave with a newborn child, and I apologize due to lack of sleep. My synapses may not be firing on all cylinders today. But we have paid sick leave, paid vacation, paid personal days, paid holidays. The FMLA is a federal law that provides unpaid but protected leave for many of the same reasons as the state statute. We also provide short-term and long-term disability. So we really do have a generous benefit package for our employees that really covers a lot of what this law is going to cover in terms of reasons for leave. So, as I alluded to in the beginning of this program, we are a local government employer, the county and its supported entities, and we have the ability to opt out of participation in this program. Initially, when the state created its guidance on this law, it only provided one option for opting out, that was opt out entirely. Since then, the state has come up with kind of a new option that's opt out but withhold the participating employees' premiums for submission to the state. So those are the two options if you would like to consider opting out. I would note that a vote to opt out preserves employees' choice. If the board decides that it does not want to participate in this program, it doesn't want to have to contribute that $874,000 or up to $1,003,000 out of its budget. The individual employees can still say, hey, this program works for me and I want to opt in. I want to make the decision to participate in this program. So it is very important to note that if you decide to opt out, it does not inhibit employees from participating in this program. They can still make the decision to participate. In other words, they can make the decision on how to spend their money.
Just a moment, Commissioner Brimmer has a question.
Thank you. Are we facilitating, let's say that we do an opt-out. In that case, if individual employees want to opt in, what are the mechanisms by which they do that? Are we facilitating payroll deduction for that?
That's a very good question. I don't know if the state has answered all of those, but broadly speaking, yes. If we opt out and act as the withholding agent is what I will call it, our finance department will withhold premiums from the employee paycheck for submission to the state. That will create an additional administrative burden on our finance department. We don't know exactly what that burden will be because the state has not clearly indicated to us what the mechanisms will be for how we submit those premiums, how we track employees' premiums, et cetera. If we opt out entirely, employees will be responsible for submitting their premiums to the state. I can guess is what the state might do. They might, provide a mailing address or an electronic porthole where the employees submit their payments. But those are the two opt-out options, so that's a very good question.
Thank you.
We provided notice by email to all of the impacted employees or potentially impacted employees of this upcoming vote, an opportunity to provide comment through email. If employees are here today, once I'm done with this slide, I'll see if anyone would like to provide comment to the board. But as of yesterday morning, we received 11 total emails from all of our employees, which I think totals around 3,000. 9 comments favored opting out of participation in this program. And my understanding is those comments were designed at, I should be able to choose how to spend my money. I don't want additional money coming out of my paycheck. 2 comments favored participation in family. There's an asterisk next to that. I don't know if those comments or commenters fully understood that if we opt out, they can still participate in the program. I will note that after I uploaded this presentation, there were, I think, 2 more emails that came in for a total of 13. Those 2 emails were split, again, 1 favoring opting out, 1 favoring opting in with that same caveat. Commissioners, I think now would be the time to ask the audience if there are any employees here who would like to comment about whether or not the county should participate in this program. And then afterwards, I think I'll turn the floor over to you. If we do nothing, we're in the program. And if you would like to vote to opt out of the program, your options are voting out entirely, so we don't act as a withholding agent. And that this time, that is the advice of staff because the burden is unknown on staff. Or the second opt-out option is to opt out, but act as the withholding agent. So our finance department would submit premiums to the state on behalf of any participating employees.
Thank you. Before we open it up for public comment or any of our employees that may wish to comment, just a quick question. In either of those opt-out options, what's the arrangement or what would take place regarding county matching? Because I know if you opt in, there's that matching approach. If we opt out, I'm not sure I have a clear understanding of what happens.
That's a fantastic question, and it's a very important point, and I apologize I did not hit on it earlier. If we opt out, we do not, as an employer, pay that half of the premium. So the employees don't have to make up that premium. They just pay the 0.45%. So they pay the same share regardless of whether we opt in or opt out. So there is no increased financial burden on our employees by opting out. So thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know if you've heard anything. There are rumors out there when this thing was being passed. You've mentioned the state hasn't even come up with a plan on how to actually do some of this stuff yet. Solvency of this program, is that come up? Is there any concerns about that? Because I heard there were concerns when this was going through last year.
I don't have any direct information on that. I would say, with these funds, it's always a concern. During the recession, our unemployment fund almost went belly up because of the number of claims that were made. So, I can speculate, but I don't have any direct information on whether or not this fund will be solvent in a couple of years.
Great. Are there any other questions at this point from the board? Okay, let's go ahead and provide an opportunity for either any member of the public or any employee, if you'd like to come down and comment on regarding this topic. Is there anybody? Okay, is there anybody online at this point? No? Well, I guess we don't have anybody that wishes to offer a comment. I thought maybe, you mentioned that you thought there might be some, so I thought maybe we had some folks coming down, but nobody's coming forward.
I wasn't sure. The regulations just indicated we should open it up for public comment here at the meeting, and we also thought it was a good idea to provide an email avenue for employees in advance. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board on whether to vote to opt out. And again, the two options are opt out entirely or opt out and act as the withholding agent. And again, because of the uncertainty as to how the withholding mechanism will work, it's staff advice that we not pursue that avenue.
Very good. Thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Williams.
So we have a resolution to decline participation in that. If we decide to opt out, so the administrative burden is on the state and not us, then is that within that resolution there?
I have an alternate resolution if that's what the board would like to pursue.
Okay.
And I apologize for not providing the options to the board in advance.
Yeah, that's okay. I would recommend opting out and leaving the administrative burden on the state to finance this.
I'll
or
second.
to take care of that.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd like to do a quick caveat to that. I don't disagree that I would always like for the administrative burden to be on the state as opposed to on local government. It doesn't often go that direction. But I would argue that in this case, we're making a decision on behalf of our employees, and that the administrative burden, the question is actually, does it land on them to work it out with the state, like so many other of our state administered systems don't work very well with that? Or is it about them working with our HR? That's what it seems like, with our HR and payroll departments. And perhaps Nikki can clarify some of that for me. I know we don't have real numbers, but I think to me, that is the lens through which we're looking at this today, not necessarily whether the program that has already been legislated and pushed down, how we're going to deal with that now. And so what's in the best interest of our employees? Is it to tell them to figure it out on their own and work in a giant state system? Or is it we're a little bit of a conduit? And I think at this point, there's probably sentiment on the board that it's not a total opt-in organizationally, so it would not be mandatory for anyone.
Mr. Bremer, if I could just address the point, and I think it is a fantastic point, is alleviating the administrative burden on our employees. If the board's to opt out, no premiums will be collected from our employees during 2023. And I cannot give legal advice to any employees out there, but I advise them to go to famli.colorado.gov and click on the local government section, because my recollection is that section indicates to our employees that if you want to opt in after we've opted out, you should do that right around January 1, 2024. So that would give us a year's worth of time to see how this withholding process works, see how the state administers it, really truly gain a grasp of how it will impact the Simmons Department, and perhaps revisit that opt-out option closer to January 1, 2024. And that way we would have a truer grasp of whether this is something that's going to create a huge administrative burden, or if it's just another line we check in our payroll software or program. And with that, I'll turn it over to Nikki.
Commissioners, Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer. I just wanted to say, in the many discussions we've been having about this with staff, we are open to trying to facilitate this for staff and making it easier if they wish to participate. The concern at this point is the state still doesn't have their procedures together on how this could possibly work. And so through several meetings, we think our best advice is for us to wait a year before we would start facilitating it, to try to make sure that the state has time to get their processes together before the county is liable for our employees' contributions. I always am in favor of making our employees' lives easier if it's something we can handle. And my first thought was, yeah, we'll administer it. And then the more burden that came with it, we want to give the state some time to figure out how this is going to work. Us saying right now opting out completely and not facilitating it does not negate our ability to in the future start facilitating it once the state has their procedures together.
Thank you. So to clarify, if we were to opt out entirely right now, I know the legislation and the rulemaking has not happened, but the legislation did kind of say it put some parameters around how and when decisions could be reversed or reconsidered. So are we well within the timing if we pass the resolution to decline as an organization today? Are we well within the permissible timing of the originally written legislation to actually reconsider this, the organizational opt-out with facilitating of being a collecting agent?
Commissioner, I believe so. So we have to revisit our vote to opt out every 8 years. We can reverse that during the 8 years, so we could decide we do want to participate anytime shorter. To my knowledge, there is not anything within the statute that would prohibit us on making it easier for the employees. In other words, deciding to withhold that premium on behalf of the employees. I will also note that employees who elect to participate in the program, I believe they're electing for a 3-year cycle to participate in the program as well. So I hope that answers your question. I can't say 100% because I don't believe the Act addresses that specific scenario, but I think reading between the lines is we have to revisit our opt-out vote every 8 years. But there's nothing that says we can't revisit it any time within that 8 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, and I just think, I'm sorry, go ahead, did you? No, very good. I just think not really having the state's implementation procedures in place is problematic. From the point of view of whether we need to actually do something to support our employees, or whether the state comes up with an effective and easy approach to handle it themselves. And it sounds like that answer is not known. So it feels to me like I think the right option today is opting out. And then we'll just continue. I think it's important to continue to monitor, what the state is doing. And, there's always an opportunity for them to build a really good, decent approach that can work for the employees that wish to opt in. But we would also have the option to maybe assist them if that doesn't transpire. So I think we leave that option open. So I think that's good. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. So, my support for the seconding of opting out, a couple things. One, again, an unfunded mandate from the state. So taking it from the lens of a very basic that I have, and I think most of this board have always had comments on, is unfunded mandates. We oppose those. And we continue to tell the state, don't push unfunded mandates to the taxpayers locally. And this is another example of it. Two, we have no idea, again, on the rulemaking on this thing. It was a boondoggle last year, and it continues to do so. Hopefully it's something that's positive, but in this case, I keep seeing more negatives that come out, and questions of solvency have remained out there that have yet to be answered. And then three, it is something, if we opt out, we can reverse it in the future. If for some reason in the future we deem that this was a positive and something we should look into. And then lastly, sorry, one last one was, as already mentioned, but I will highlight it again, all our employees have the option of opting in through the state. So the employees that do want this or feel this is important can opt in through the state. And so I want to highlight that for the public as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner Geithner.
I'll just add that I think, looking at the number of comments that we've received, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it does not appear that we have a tremendous number of employees who are interested in participating in this program at this point. So I'm in favor of a full opt-out for that reason as well, that to set up something that we may not actually really be utilized at a not even a high rate, but even a minimal rate, seems a little bit, it just seems like it would be better for us to wait and kind of gauge what that interest is. I will also say that having participated in this discussion with another organization at Regional Building, and I know hearing from some of our city council members, I believe that they have taken the full opt-out position as well. So I do not think, I could interpret these 11 comments as, just a kind of a fluke that we just didn't get a whole lot, but it seems pretty consistently across the board that employees don't see, maybe don't see the value in this program to a great extent at this point. That certainly could change as that rulemaking takes place, but that full opt-out seems to be the right choice at this point for all of those reasons.
Great, thank you for your comments, Commissioner. Anything else? All right, at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
I think we have one.
Oh, do we have one more?
Well, I'll make it in a.
Sorry, I missed
I
you.
can make it in a formal motion, so I would move that we decline participation by the County of El Paso County in the Colorado Paid Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program, with the option that we're going to opt out and not facilitate our employees' participation.
Thank you. And Commissioner, that's on behalf of El Paso County and its supported entities as well as.
And its supported entities.
Thank you, and I appreciate the clarification. Make sure we've got a good motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second on that. One last opportunity. Any questions from any of the commissioners?
Just a quick comment. I am great with moving forward with this. I had to ask the questions and make sure we weren't actually locked in on making this decision for 8 years when we don't know the rules right now. So I think my colleagues have made some very good points. I wanted to also thank those 11 employees who did take the time to email. I printed them out and have them all right here in front of me. Many of them made very, very savvy points on complicated legislation. So I'm impressed with our employees once again for really understanding the issue, and applaud them for taking the time. And then also to our benefits department and HR department for answering all the questions and facilitating them being able to get their comments directly to us. With that, I'm ready for a vote as well.
Very good. I appreciate those comments. Yes, Commissioner Gonzalez.
I would just like to make one clarification. When I used the word boondoggle, I didn't mean any efforts to support families and employees. It had to do with the way the state has been handling the administrative procedures of this. Thank you.
Appreciate that clarification. And one more clarification. With the
I
clarification.
have one more point as well. Sorry. You know, it was, speaking of our benefits and HR department, you know, we will approve a final budget in a couple of weeks. And in that, obviously, employees are a large cost on a county our size, and they're well worth a good investment for great employees that continue to serve our citizens. I do know that our benefits and HR department fought very, very hard this year to keep the employee share of regular medical insurance premiums the same in an incredibly record-breaking inflationary year. That is impressive. I can talk more about that when we approve final budget, but that's also going into just the big picture of realizing what we're asking our employees to do and how we are compensating them. This is a part of the big picture as well, and I think ultimately a good move to opt out today.
Very good. Thank you for all my fellow commissioners' comments. I believe we have made all our comments at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and proceed with the vote. Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Thank you for the staff presentation and the information you provided to us this morning.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. And one final note is that we will be emailing all of the impacted employees, again, all employees from El Paso County and its supported entities, with information from the state about how to opt in if they would so choose. We will be doing that within 30 days. And if the board would like, so there's no confusion, I have a draft of the resolution that was not pursued, that is the employee or acting as withholding agent. Would the board like that marked for the record so there's no confusion as to which option we chose? I can scribble declined over the top.
Yes, if it's not already entered into the official record, let's make sure that it is that's done so.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you. All right. So at this point, I do have a request from a commissioner for a quick break. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and take a quick break and recess this meeting, and we'll reconvene in a few minutes. right, let's go ahead and reconvene our 9 a.m. Board of County Commissioners meeting. And we did complete item 12, so we are now on to item 13.
Item number 13 is a hearing on the application by Cyan Corporation and Prime Property LLC, doing business as Rivon Gas and Convenience for a retail fermented malt beverage off-premise liquor license on the premise located at 4140 U.S. Highway 8587, El Paso County, Commissioner District 4. Jackie Allred, Clerk to the Board. Mr. Chair, this application does qualify for an abbreviated hearing, and I will defer to the county attorney. It looks like the applicant is in the audience.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I could just ask the clerk to the board a couple of quick questions. We can, again, as she brings up, I believe this may qualify for an abbreviated hearing.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, has the applicant fulfilled all state and local requirements?
All state and local requirements have been fulfilled.
Have the needs and desires of the local community for the required license, or I'm sorry, requested license been established?
The needs and desires have been met. The board waived the neighborhood survey as a requirement at their November 1st, 2022 meeting.
Has any opposition been voiced against the issuance of the requested license?
No opposition has been received at this time.
Has the Sheriff's Office investigation revealed criminal history relevant to the issuance of a liquor license?
There was no relevant criminal history to the license.
And shifting my questioning to the audience, is there any party in interest present at the board hearing today to formally oppose the issuance of the requested license?
And just as confirmation, is there anybody online? Okay, thank you. Please proceed, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do believe that this matter qualifies for an abbreviated hearing process. And once we've established the requirements that we just tore through, the board may, upon passage of a motion, dispense with the formal hearing process.
All right, so if I, just to make sure I have that clear, if I get a motion from a commissioner and then we proceed with a vote and that is successful, we can proceed with an abbreviated hearing?
Correct, sir.
Okay, very good. I'll entertain that motion. Any commissioners interested in making that motion?
Move to approve an abbreviated meeting.
Second.
Hearing.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. Let's go ahead and proceed with the vote. Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We can now proceed with an abbreviated presentation.
Thank you, sir. This now allows comments or testimony of the applicant on needs and desires of the local community. Based on this, the board may then take formal action approving the liquor license or permit application. I understand the applicant is in the audience.
Very good. Hello, would you like to come down and make a few comments?
Thank you.
And you can just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but state your name and then go ahead and proceed.
Yeah, my name is Roshan Dakal, and I'm applicant for the liquor license of Cyan Corporation.
Very good. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the applicant, Commissioner Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Normally, we just have somebody read in what was maybe the poll taken on support or against from the local residents.
So because the board waived the neighborhood survey, we just have the attached from the previous retail
Okay,
liquor
that
license.
was the one, the previous one from before. Okay, I remember. Okay, thank you very much.
And as I recall, those were favorable numbers. Okay, very good. All right, are there any questions from any of the commissioners for the applicant at this time? Yep, a commissioner, please.
No, so this one's in my district. I'm reminded, yes, we had favorable support on that. That's usually the only thing we really asked for on these abbreviated ones was the support in the community, and those were favorable from before, which is why we did not include them for having to redo them. So as this is my district, I will be supporting, and so I do move to approve item 13.
Second.
very good. We have a motion and a second. Thank you very much. And I don't think I see any further questions from any of the commissioners, so let's proceed with the vote. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Sir, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've succeeded in your application. Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's move on to item number 14.
Item number 14 is department and committee reports, non-action items. 14A, monthly budget report, October 2022, and sales and use tax report, September 2022. Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer. I know that we have a lot more on our agenda today, and so in the interest of time, and because I promised Ms. Latier and Mr. Walker that I would only spend an hour up here, and
You know, the greatest part about that is you got a reaction from him, so I like
did.
that.
They, and I even told them I was only going to do 15 minutes. They were like, "How about 10?" But so the budget report is online. There's nothing in there it's trending as it has been the last several months. And so in the interest of time, I just have a couple things on the sales and use tax report that we wanted to go through in public session. But as always, if you have any additional questions or the citizens have any additional questions, be more than happy to answer those. For September 2022, which is the most recent month of sales tax collections that the county has, this is consumer activity that happened in the month of September, remitted to the State Department of Revenue in October, and received by the county in November. So this is the most current information we have. Majority of retail collections, which are done through the Department of Revenue, was up 3.78% for the month of September, 7.21% year to date. Use tax on automobiles up 12.77% in the month of October, as we receive these in 1 month quicker. Use tax on building materials collected through regional building and also through El Paso County Financial Services, up 8.83% for the month of October, but down 18.73% in September. Overall, collections, when you put all the components together, up 2.26% for September 2022, which leads the cumulative year-to-date amount at 5.93%. As a reminder, in the 2023 budget, we estimated that the year would end at about 6% year over year. So that's still about where we're trending. There still is room in the budget. At this point, we're not concerned, but continuing to watch as those numbers are obviously a little bit lower than what we've been trending. And so when you look at budget to actual, we are $8.6 million above budget. So even only being up a little in September, still above the budget that we projected to spend in 2022. And as I say, every month, these additional revenues above budget continue to be over our Tabor cap. And so those are being held in reserve and not being spent within the budget. Are there any questions for me on the sales and use tax for September 2022?
Any questions from any of the commissioners?
Thank you.
Just quickly, just nice to have another update.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate your time.
Okay. I think she met her 10-minute requirement, like well under that. All right, let us, we've got some procedures here to go through. Let's go, I think we are completed now with 14. And for the board here, just to let you know, what I would like to do is after item 15, we'll recess the 9 a.m. meeting, go into a work session, which will be regarding the tax increment financing request for Hancock Commons. And then once that is completed, we will reconvene the 9 a.m. meeting and then pursue the executive session at that point. So item number 15.
Item number 15 is the addendum, and there is no addendum today.
Okay, very good. So at this point, I'd like to recess the 9 a.m. meeting and let us initiate our work session at this point for the stated reasons. This is the Hancock Commons tax increment financing request. And now we are in session for that.
Good morning, Commissioners. Crystal Latier, Executive Director of Economic Development here at El Paso County. As a reminder to anyone tuning in online, this is a work session, so informational only. No vote will happen today regarding this item. We'll pull up our presentation. I do have a quick question for the Commission. Would you like us to proceed with a general update and overview of the project in entirety, or just address the two items related to PPRTA and the Metro District, which were clarifications from the previous work session?
Any sentiment from the board one way or another? Commissioner Gonzalez.
I do think just for the public's, just a short summary of what the project is. I don't think you need to go into the details, but the what the project is before you go to answer the other questions.
Fantastic, thank you. So I will proceed with a brief update. We will then welcome up Ms. Simmons to go over the financial impact, and then Mr. Jariah Walker, who is the Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority Executive Director, to provide some clarifications regarding the last work session questions. So as a reminder, the Hancock Commons Urban Renewal Area is located in Commissioner District 4. It's comprised of nearly 18 acres of undeveloped land. A major component of the public infrastructure related to this project will be rerouting and aligning Hancock Expressway. In addition, for the development portion, there will be 150 to 180 apartments, 72 to 87 townhomes, and then 14,000 square feet of commercial space. Again, this is a map overview of the site location and some project renderings related to those comments that were just made. Retail components. And at this time, we will call up Nikki Simmons to discuss some of the financial impact.
Commissioners, for this URA project, the URA is requesting 100% of the county's property tax increment. Currently, the base in that area is $1,023 per year. So the county would continue to retain that over the 25-year period for a cumulative total of $31,554. The project is expected to generate approximately $1.2 million over the 25-year period. From the county's property tax increment. As always, financial services recalculates what is done through the URA because we have a little bit better understanding of what's going on with our mill levy and the abatement mills that we do. And so over the time frame, we've recalculated that number to be $1.88 million for an average per year of $75,275. Approximately 0.55% of the county's assessed valuation would be in this proposed tax increment financing district. They're also requesting 50% of the county's 1% sales tax for on-site sales. That is estimated in year one to be $25,490. On-site revenues are expected to be about $144 million over 25 years. So the county's 1% tax will be $1.45 million, 50% of that being $722,000 over the 25 years for an average tax increment financing on sales tax of $57,800. That over the course of those 25 years equates to about 0.1% of the county's overall sales tax base for the 1% tax. Additionally, at the same time, if the public safety sales and use tax of 0.23% was continued over those same 25 years, the county would retain an additional $332,000 in public safety and sales and use tax. So for a total tax increment financing of $2.6 million is being requested by the URA, $1.88 million from property tax and $722,000 from sales tax. This would represent 0.17% of the county's overall tax base. Is there the slide on the Metro District? Oh, it's at the end. Okay.
So next up are just some initial conclusions on impact that was conducted by the internal impact analysis as well. And our last slide will be those clarifications from the last work session. So as noted on the slide above, the City of Colorado Springs will be responsible for the majority of services, so the county should have minimal financial exposure. This will also generate significant amount of property and sales tax revenues upon the conclusion of TIF in the year 2046. The project will help this blighted land and will have positive impact on the surrounding area and community, and I believe Mr. Walker will also denote how that will impact further development outside of the URA, but adjacent to this property. Again, the approximate 14,000 square feet of commercial space will allow for retail and restaurants, jobs will be created, sales tax revenue will be generated on site. The financial burden relating to PPRTA we will touch on the last slide. And again, while the proposed housing will not be subsidized, the additional housing units will help with market and supply issues, so that is favorable. And at this time, Mr. Walker will come up and provide some of those clarifications relating to the Metro District and PPRTA.
Thank you, Crystal and Nikki. Thank you, Board Commissioners. Jariah Walker, Executive Director of the Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority. Can't emphasize enough how great your staff is. One thing I did want to bring up, and it was on slide 2, and Crystal actually alluded to that I would be just reminding the board about it. There is a triangular parcel just north of this development that the frontage is going to be developed with this Hancock realignment. Of course, right now, that's just land. Once that alignment occurs, we do fully expect that to be a future development site that's not within the boundaries of the URA, but that's one of the cool things about approving this project is it does have a ripple effect of opening up another developable parcel that's going to benefit every single taxing entity if this project is able to go forward. Of course, Nikki already went over a lot of those numbers, but since the developer's doing a half cent of the ask, the county will obviously benefit. 722,000, I think, was that number that normally wouldn't be coming into the county as well. So it's a nice win-win scenario there. As far as the Metro District goes, the project is proposing implementing a Metro District with a 30 mil levy to support district operations and debt service. Over the estimated 30-year life of the proposed Metro, boy, none of us can talk today. It must be the snow, my Lord. The implementation of their mill levy will reduce El Paso County's collection of specific ownership taxes by approximately $62,000. That's an average reduction in county revenues of approximately $2,067 per year. There was some questions regarding PPRTA at the last meeting. I did engage with Travis Easton, who is the Director of Public Works for the City of Colorado Springs, just to go over some questions that had come up, mainly around the annexation. Of course, you've got a note here that was recorded in 1970. This does have a history of being on the PPRTA project list. On PPRTA 2, it was on the B list. And of course, on PPRTA 3 that was just passed, it is on the B list as well. There is no funding that hits B list projects. And specifically, the PPRTA Policy 20, Travis was telling me that public roadway improvements are the obligations of the property owners as part of their development costs. And the intent of PPRTA is to not fund developer roadway obligations. He also wanted me to be sure to mention that he did not foresee this property being as a B-list on PPRTA 3. He did not foresee it ever really getting funding, and it would be quite some time down in the future if it did. If for some reason it did get funding tied to it, and this project, of course, went forward, then it would benefit the entire community by rolling into another project instead of hitting this one. So it's a way for incentivizing private development on this project and then being able to roll that over to another one if for some reason funding on it were to occur. And I think, a quick taxing entity update. Since we were here last, we did have to go in front of the Pikes Peak Library District for their vote to the project, and they did approve 100% funding to the project as well. So really, after we get the Board of County Commissioners vote, the next step would be going to City Council. But right now, we're at the end of the process and hopefully going to launch this project soon. Other than that, happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? I know that we did have questions when we discussed this in the previous work session. I think I heard an answer to one of the questions, but let's make sure they get fully answered. Any other questions? Did that answer yours, Commissioner Gonzalez? Okay. Commissioner Williams, please.
On a comment, so it was on the B list, I think, in the just approved Pikes Peak RTA extension.
Correct.
Right now, the one we are on, Pikes Peak RTA 2, has 2 A-list projects done and will not ever get to any of the B lists. If, you know, over the next 10 years, if we are able to get to B-list projects, I believe when I spoke with Mr. Easton that, you know, the developer has to pay his way on public improvements in the city of Colorado Springs. And then if there's anything left that's needed on Hancock Expressway, that could be done. But other than that, that money would roll from one city project to another city project. So that just, in the end, the developer is always paying their way first. And I think that's an important thing to stress is we really work hard to make sure that development does pay its way in, especially the county, as we know that, but the city also works hard on that as well. So thank you.
Very good. Any other questions from any of the board members? All right, hearing none. It sounds like those questions were answered. I appreciate the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Crystal.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just as a reminder to the public, the next steps for this project will be a formal Board of County Commissioner agenda item, and that will come to you on December 20th. And for those in the public, just a reminder that the December 20th meeting will be happening at the Citizen Service Center due to construction here at this building.
Okay, very good. Yes, did you have a?
Just a quick comment. I was going to say once again, I do appreciate the continuing refinement of this process of answering questions publicly, of having us be able to really delve into and know the details before it appears to us in an official voting capacity in December. There's been a lot of months worth of work behind this, and it has played out very publicly. I think that serves all of us very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Great comments. And Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I don't have any questions. I have some comments. I mean, we won't be voting on this until another meeting. So we have, again, these comments, but I want to put them on the record. So I live right just east of this area, immediately east of the intersection that we're talking about for the extension. City determines what's blight. It is clean grassland. It is definitely underutilized, not utilized. It can be definitely be put to better use. So I acknowledge that for sure. And so there are definitely potential there to develop. So I'm supportive of that. The questions that were answered here, however, go back to the comments I made last time, was that this is a city project. Somebody said, well, it was the county. Well, it was brought into the city in the 70s. PPRTA 2 and 3 have this for the city as a project that they believe was important enough that they at some point would be funding. So the city would be funding, not the county. Again, developers' responsibility to pay for the public improvements. Again, the city is asking the county to do that on behalf of the developer. 3, as was mentioned last time and mentioned again this time, money would be rolled over to other city projects. Again, because the county is helping to pay for that, a city project. Again, these are things we'll talk about in the next meeting, but how the city would use those funds, I don't know. Are those the best projects? I don't know. Sometimes they go and put money that I disagree with to projects in the city, some road dieting projects that I've disagreed with. I don't know how they would spend that money. But again, this would be county money replacing city obligations and projects from PPRTA. And the last project, and the last concern, as I brought up last time, was this is on the B list, but in PPRTA 3, which was approved by the public, there's a mechanism that allows a B project list if it receives outside funding, which this would be providing, to then be lifted to a Project A list. So I believe this could be funded as a Project A list if it receives outside funding, which it would be doing from the urban renewal. So this is something, again, I will have to ask that question. Is there a mechanism that the city could include this as Project A and therefore use PPRTA money, not 10 years down the road, but next year, because it would be getting funding that would save them, the city, amounts of money. So these are the questions I will be talking about in more detail next time. And then just for the general public, if they don't understand how urban renewal does work, in terms of the property tax, I just want people to understand, city can take the county to, I believe it's binding arbitration on any decisions that would have to do with the property tax, the sales tax. If we were to submit anything or approve anything, that would be the approval here at the determination of the county board. But I did want to highlight that in cases for the public understands, the property tax thing could go to arbitration, binding arbitration. So those are all the questions and concerns I have. I would say that I appreciate the answers to this, address everything I asked about. However, it reemphasizes the concern I brought up last time. Why should the county be paying for a project the city says they would be doing when there's a mechanism for them to pay it through PPRTA? But that doesn't mean I'm not supportive of the project. I think this is a good project, and those are things I will think about over the next several weeks when this comes back. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate your comments. Yes, Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you. Wasn't completely sure that I wasn't just going to think about this one and leave it to the 20th, but because this was also brought up, I guess I've got to point out that I heard two things. I heard developers paying their way, which I think is appropriate, and then I heard incentivizing private development. Those two things cannot be simultaneously happening. If we are incentivizing, we are subsidizing, and that is not the same thing. And so I do have a lot of thoughts. I will too be spending some time thinking thoroughly about this one before we bring that up again. And I've been pretty clear in the past that I believe in free enterprise, but oftentimes we have a situation where when it comes to regulations and overburdening businesses and things like that, we hear a lot about free enterprise, but then when there's money on the table, it seems like that those principles go out the door a little bit, and we forget that we said we didn't want to pick winners or losers or any of those kind of things. So there are a lot of things that are weighing, and it seems that there are a lot of kind of conflicting information right now in regards to, who's paying their way, what this is actually doing, and also to Commissioner Gonzalez's point, if this is a project in the city, I believe in low taxes. I believe in doing everything that we can to keep those things low so that businesses can thrive, so development can happen. But at the same point, I do get concerned when I see one governmental entity utilizing another governmental entity's taxing base to fulfill things that they want to do. That continues to be a little bit of my concern around these projects, as well as I continue to hear things about Tabor. Well, we have an overage in Tabor, and therefore we're not going to be able to keep revenues. We don't know what the economy is going to do. It's not something that we can predict very clearly, especially over 25 years. So I think it begins to be very hard when we have those kind of arguments. And on top of that, I'm going to say whether it's $5 or $5 million, those Tabor overages belong to citizens. So to use any of those kind of arguments to spend haphazardly, at the end of the day, the question for me has to be, is this a proper use of citizen tax dollars, period, regardless of Tabor caps or any of those things? And I'm still struggling with whether that is whether this is a proper use of our taxpayers' dollars or not for some of those myriad of reasons. So those could continue to be the things that I'm going to think about and look for answers on before that meeting on the 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, any other comments at this point? All right, I don't see any more. Thank you very much for the presentation this morning. And if there's no objection from any of the commissioners, let's go ahead and close the work session. Any objection? All right, let's close that work session and let's reconvene our 9 a.m. meeting. We'll do that right now. And we'll start with item 16.
Item number 16 is the executive session. 16A, pursuant to CRS 246402 4B and E, the County Attorney's Office is requesting an executive session regarding the following matters pertaining to Juniper McGinn versus Elder et al., case number 22 CV 1387 WJM MDB, to include the following. 1, conference with the County Attorney's Office for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions related to a litigation matter. And 2, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators. Nathan Whitney, First Assistant County Attorney. Stephen Martin, Assistant County Attorney.
Very good. Before I ask for a motion, are there any questions from any of the commissioners regarding the executive session? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move we go into executive session for the purposes stated on the record.
Second.
And that's been moved and seconded. Let's proceed with a vote. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We are now in executive session. Let's reconvene upstairs here. If it's all right with everybody, how about 5 minutes? We'll just go into it pretty quickly.